Kim. Kimberly Wexler, ladies and gentlemen. What a woman. But before we get to Kimberly Wexler's big moment, we gotta talk about the entirety of Fun and Games, Better Call Saul's 5th class episode. And a surprise to absolutely no one, it was great. Is it a classic of the series? I personally wouldn't make that argument, because it's just the classic prestige pitfall drama of TV, where you have the first half where not a lot of stuff is going on in the episode, and the second half, the most momentous things possible happen, and then you declare the whole episode as great. And that's, I think it's fair to say it's a great episode. To call it one of the best, I think there are much more consistent episodes that still have a lot of shock value and a lot of big moments to them. But you're going to come out of this thinking it was a great time, and you shouldn't. I should have hated this because it had a montage at the beginning. And if there's one thing I think that Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul does quite poorly, it's the montages. I know people like them. I really don't understand why. To me, the whole point that the montages are trying to do is trying to get rid of dead weight, but the montages themselves always feel like they are dead weight. And it doesn't matter how much classic rock they use or how many visual flourishes they add, that just feels like something you could always skip, and you're not getting that much out of it. I think the Crystal Blue Persuasion one in Breaking Bad, it's about the meth, but the one in Breaking Bad with Crystal Blue Persuasion playing over it is, I think, the pinnacle of all the montages in the series. I think this one is a close second, and it makes sense because it doesn't break the flow of the episode. It starts you off going through the lives of Jimmy and Kim as they have to act normal after Howard's death, and then you got that juxtaposed with Mike cleaning it all up. Just a very well done montage, and proof that this show, above anything else, needs an Emmy for editing. Everyone's saying Bob Odenkirk needs an Emmy. Rhea Seehorn needs an Emmy. All fine. Really, Succession deserves all the Emmys, but that's not important. What's important is that, out of anything, it's the technical aspects of Better Call Saul where it's runaway better than everything else. You can make legitimate arguments that there are better performances on TV right now. You can make an argument that there's better writing on TV right now. There is no universe where you say there is a better edited shot show than Better Call Saul. There may not be a better edited film out there right now than Better Call Saul. In the past 5 years, the amount of thought put into every single frame of this show when it comes to its cinematography is remarkable. It feels classical in the way it lingers on in images, really revels in the moment. Does it work all the time? Absolutely not. Season 4, yikes. The way they handle the show's slowness. It being slow and patient has always been its prerogative, but when it does work in an episode like this and you get a frame like the one of Jimmy and Kim kissing, it just makes it all the more impactful and makes it so much better. And to make an argument that Breaking Bad is better than this, fine. To make it on technical grounds, you are making a complete ass out of yourself for the rest of your life, because there's just no comparison. But let's not pretend this episode was perfect, because it wasn't. It had a lull. And I don't know why we're getting so much of Gus and Mike. The thing is, Better Call Saul at this point, the most interesting part of it, what has been the most interesting part of it for years, is the relationship between Jimmy and Kim. What happens to them? And it's why something like last week doesn't spark my interest at all, because I know the fate of Lalo. I know that Gus is going to have to kill him, so there's no tension there for me. I know how it's going to resolve. I just want it to fucking resolve at that point. And for me, something like the gang situation where you have all the people there, Don Eladio, Don Juan, Hector, Gus, that's something that works, and again, something that's really aided by the cinematography and being at the pool, which of course means so much to Gus. But something like him talking about or being lectured really by the guy when he's drinking wine, to me doesn't add a lot in the moment. I think that something like that is going to have a lot of rewatch value, and you can really sink your teeth into it and argue that it's a fantastic scene. But I must say, it is something where I think the particular style of Better Call Saul is to its disadvantage for me. I just can't have myself be invested in a scene like that where I just want to give so much to Jimmy and Kim, which is not something I find in something like Barry, where I am generally interested in so many of what the characters are going through, where Gus and Mike, I just can't say I have the same affection for them. And the scene between Mike and Nacho's dad was just bad. It was poorly written, and just how cliche it was, talking about the cyclical nature of revenge, regurgitating what other TV shows have said countless times already. For that to be a main point of the episode in the final stretch of Better Call Saul, for me, doesn't hit home at all, considering it's already flirted with that idea before. Why we have to keep on going on about it, I don't know. But then you get to all the Jimmy and Kim stuff and realize that this is the greatest show ever made. To me, I'm so magnetically drawn to Jimmy and Kim at this point that anything that they do is pure gold together, that I'm so invested in seeing them and just what the writers think about them, that any individual scene could totally just be an absolute disaster and I probably wouldn't notice because I'm so caught up in, is Jimmy a true horrible person? Has he created this for himself? Is his argument valid that everything else in his life is causing the suffering of these people? Is it this new narrative where it's not Jimmy corrupting Kim, it's not that Kim was evil all along, is it just the two of them being together and wrecking this, creating this carnage is really their downfall that really brings all these people to their deathbeds? And to me, just the swirling of that ideas is what has driven Better Call Saul for the past couple of seasons, in the same way that the argument of whether or not Chuck caused Jimmy was the driving force of the first 3 seasons. Rhea Seehorn and Bob Odenkirk, to me, work at their best with just the small gestures. Their subtler moments, to me, are far better than any singular outburst they have. I don't think that they're like James Gandolfini and Edie Falco. Their argument in The Apartment is not even close on an acting scale to something like Whitecaps. Is this going for something different? Absolutely. But I also get the sense that they're not fully accessing the range of emotions they want to. I never feel like they seem like they're trying so hard to really give it their all, and they never quite get there. But that really doesn't matter because the writing is so good at this point, and that line about Kim, about how she's having so much fun at this point, every single line of dialogue shifts you in one way or the other. You keep on oscillating of different ideas of whether Jimmy is self-destructive and whether he's not, and that has become such an interesting, fascinating question at this point that anything else that happens in an episode that's bad, I don't really care about. The idea of who is to blame for Howard's death and whether or not these two people are malicious is what makes the back half of the episode so great. Kim leaving Jimmy, this moment that has been building for so many years, is great, but it becomes so much better under the circumstances that she finally has reckoned with herself. Not even that she herself is a terrible person, not maybe the expected ending that we thought was going to happen in the earlier seasons, that she was just going to leave because she's had enough of him, that he's a negative influence on her life. She's come to the conclusion that the two of them together are some potent, toxic, flat-out venomous mixture that anyone cannot tolerate. And to me, that is one of the most important, nuanced revelations the series has revealed so far. And the fact that she came to that is why Kim as a character is one of the best out of the entire Breaking Bad universe. Rhea Seehorn, phenomenal. I don't mean to poke too many holes in her. It's really a nitpick the way she's not bawling her eyes out because she really doesn't need to. I do think they could have done more with those performances, but just everything that goes on with them is so good, such gold for TV, that to even try and poke holes with them in specifics is just a waste of time. Fun and Games is a great episode that is totally played with what I thought was going to happen in the final 6 episodes. Now that we're caught up to Saul Goodman and we're kind of knocking on the door of the events of Breaking Bad, I'm fascinated to where the show's going to go and how it plays with time at the end. But now that we had that exchange between Kim and Jimmy and her leaving him, I can't imagine that's the last we see of her. I'm almost positive we're going to see her later down the road in a post-Breaking Bad life. And to another surprise and no one, at the end of this episode, I want more. I'm excited. Can't wait to see where the show goes. It's just, if you have to have a complaint, there's of course overwhelming good to bad in this episode. But as, a critic, that you try to make your honest opinion and try and make the flaws known, this is the running trend of Better Call Saul that is ultimately going to affect my final rating of it, that we do have fluff in it. We do have so many moments where I don't care, where I'm just so invested in Jimmy and Kim's storyline, and the supporting characters just aren't up to snuff. And of course, for any show to even match the quality of something like Jimmy and Kim, you're talking about the greatest shows of all time that are able to do that. But to have such dips in quality and such boring moments that don't feel quite justified, is going to hurt my overall opinion of an episode, of a season, and ultimately of a series. Better Call Saul can't fix that by now. It's going to do what it has to do, but I hope in these last couple episodes we're full steam ahead on stuff I care about, which hopefully is more so on the Jimmy side and less so on Mike and Gus, because we know how their fates ultimately play out. That's all.